Garages everywhere. Mechanics meet, Farkles are wrenched, rides are planned, stories are told, and dreams are hatched. This is our garage. Welcome to FARKLE Garage. I'm Kim Rock. On today's show, we meet Comrade Chang. Claude visits a Harley-powered midget. Star remembers wet coast scooting. We interview an AMA Hall of Famer. Steve shows we can still get up in the dirt. And we meet Canada's youngest iron butt rider. All this and more on this episode of FARKLE Garage. Okay, Clive, what is this?
That is a 1968 Chang Jiang, ex-People's Liberation Army motorcycle from China. It's become my most favorite ride. It's kind of started out very loosely based on a 1938 BMW, and then they turned into Ural and Nippers, a very loose association there, and then they figured the Ruskies said, you know what? We like our comrades over in China. You can have this used up tooling, and so they started to make the Chang Jiang.
That's pretty.
Very short little history about it. Crude, rude, but so much fun.
And 0 to 80 in...
Oh, 80? That's wide open. Like kilometers an hour.
You'd be proud to get a speeding ticket on this one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It will actually go a bit faster. Cruises at 80 kilometers an hour.
I saw you this morning on the way to work, and you had a big smile on your face, even though it was 4 degrees out.
Every time I get on it. Yeah.
What do you call a Harley-Davidson on 4 wheels? Matt calls this 1914 J model powerhouse
whopping 6.8 horsepower.
A midget racer.
It's been raced a lot.
But she's seen better days.
90% done, 90% to go.
Matt loves a challenge.
I figured the coolness factor would be so over the top that I couldn't let something like this go.
Neither could Bevan and I. We raced up to Campbell River to see this funky four-wheeler. According to Motorsport magazine, midget auto racing began in Venice, California in 1914, gaining popularity in the 30s. Most early races were powered by motorcycle engines, with the occasional outboard motor thrown into the mix. The first of which raced at over 100 miles per hour. Matt's machine runs on this 1000cc Harley Twin.
Some very eccentric fellow in Edmonton took this motor, combined it with a Model T rear end, front end, and approximately a 1923 Star transmission. Put it all together to make this one of the early original midget racers. And made it work. And that was kind of the interesting part for me, to see how he put it together to combine everything. And it all tells a story. It's pretty cool.
But some chapters needed a rewrite.
Most everything you touch, you either have to build or figure it out.
The original clutch broke the motor mounts.
I made a combination pilot bearing holder, flywheel holder, bearing, and then this will be bolted to the flywheel. Then that will be bolted to the plate, and then it'll transfer the clutch pressure onto the bell housing.
The motor's unhooked from the drive with the help of a snowmobile chain.
What I got to do is find the sprocket that matches it, slice them in half,
yes,
mount one of them here,
yes,
and one of them there,
okay,
and then simply wrap the chain around it like that, and you've got a drive coupling. I'll have mounts from this bell housing down to the existing motor mount so that it thinks it's in a motorcycle frame.
That's wonderful.
The distributor's mostly custom too. Matt manufactured the cam, and the unit's held in place, luckily, by a motor mount from a newer Kawasaki.
Where'd you get the idea from it? Where'd you...
Lots of coffee.
Lots of coffee.
The starter's new too.
Went to the wrecking yard and got a ring gear and starter from a little Chev product.
Matt says the old one was mounted in the wrong place.
When I took this motor apart, the rear cylinder was seized.
So he fitted new, modern pistons, modified the engine's oiling system. Oh, and he fabricated his own valves. For now, he says the owner will keep the body mostly original.
In theory, it should work. It was something that I didn't want to see sit in the state that I got it in forever. It needed to be put together and chuffing up and down the road.
Cool, a four-wheeled Harley. That's awesome. Dar, you also have a small story with a really big heart.
This is Scooter Bob. This belonged to Bob Leong, a Vancouver motoblogger, and he was going to make this trip to Key West, Florida, and one of his friends decided to send this ahead to meet him in that. But unfortunately, Bob passed away before he could meet up with the scooter. So the group of us motobloggers decided that we would send this Scooter Bob around the world to all of the blog hosts, and he'd do some sightseeing.
And where all has he been?
He's been to Wales, to New Zealand, to Australia, through the United Kingdom, all through the US, up to Alaska, and he's come back home to British Columbia where he lived, and I'm the last blogger to host Scooter Bob. It's been going for 3 years.
Well, I see you picked up some luggage on the way around the world, too.
We certainly did, and the box of mementos that every blogger put in. It was pretty amazing.
What about the pink Crocs here? What do they
Those
signify?
were Bob's signature shoes. Whenever he'd get off his motorcycle,
Nice.
he'd wear the pink Crocs. So we all have Crocs, either pink or whatever color.
We should apply for an IBA certificate for Scooter Bob,
So that would be awesome.
You get that, Mr. Kneebone? We're going to send in an application.
He came to me at the end of June in a big brown box, and when I got it at work, I was pretty touched. It was kind of hard opening that, but I got some good memories out of it.
It's beautiful. It really is.
Great legacy. Steve, there's a bit of a revival going on at the old Victoria Motorcycle Club.
Yeah, that's right, Kim. The famous Victoria Motorcycle Club hill climb is up and running again after a 10-year hiatus. A bunch of the club members got together with myself, and we added 100 feet onto the existing hill climb, so it now made it 278 feet high. And I promised them if we got it going that I would dust off my old Honda 6 hill climber that we set the record at the Mount Douglas hill climb in 1979.
79, it's been a few years then.
Yeah, it's been 36 years since I threw my leg over the old Honda 6, but I vowed that I would bring it out so that people could hear the sound. I ran that in 78 to 84, and thousands of people saw it, and I'm amazed to this day, almost 40 years later, people come in and look at that bike, and they say, I remember how that bike sounded. That is amazing. We got it running, and we went out and got up 4 or 5 runs up there, and everybody came down and clapped me on the back, and they said, just like it was, like going back in time.
Steve, and I'm not just saying this, buddy. It was impressive watching you go up that hill, bud. It really was.
Thanks, Clive. It felt really good. It was like deja vu, sitting at the bottom of the hill. You know, you look up there and you concentrate and come onto their full throttle, clutch right out, and hold it wide open for about 5 or 6 seconds. It's a real thrill.
And hang on for dear life.
Oh yeah, basically.
It's not every day you get 2 Hall of Famers in the studio at the same time. Coming up, our own Hall of Famer Steve Drane talks with legendary AMA Superbike champion Wes Cooley. Then Canada's youngest iron butt rider joins us. Cyclops pops by with a couple of new Farkles, and Bev shares his 1914 Indian that includes some original parts found in a dumpster. That's right, we'll be right back.
This Suzuki GS 1000S Wes Cooley replica is basically what brought Trevor and Wes together, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that.
A year and a half ago, I was riding with a friend of mine. I let him borrow one of my bikes, and he crashed it. He totaled this bike off.
Oh, no.
I was pretty upset about it. It was a bike my dad had painted. It was quite special to me. And I decided that I'm going to go on a ride to Las Vegas to take my head away from it. I was so upset.
Yes.
So I'm
on
a BMW forum. One of the gentlemen members on there says, Trevor, I feel awful about your 1100 being crashed. I know how much you love Suzuki. He says, you know, I've got a 1980 GS 1000S sitting in the back of my garage for years. I think it's a Wes Cooley replica. Are you interested? I said, yes, absolutely. Bought it on my trip to Las Vegas, actually. So I'm doing a lot of research online, and I'm on Facebook, and I see Wes Cooley's on Facebook. I thought, well, geez, I'll send Wes Cooley a friend request, see what happens.
Yeah, actually, all this me coming back is due to Facebook.
Right, right. So of course I'm texting all my buddies, Wes Cooley and I are friends on Facebook. This is crazy. So we started talking back and forth, and Wes was kind of putting it out there that you know, he'd been away from all motorcycles for 25 plus years, and he said he was interested in getting his name back out there. My friend is doing this Vintage in the Valley in Chilliwack. And I asked Dale, I said, would you be interested if I could get Wes Cooley to come? Would you want him?
I bet he was.
And he said, absolutely. And so I talked to Wes on the phone about it, and to my surprise, Wes was happy to do it, and here he is. So it's a crazy story.
When did you start motorcycle racing?
The man on the motorcycle is Wes Cooley, two-time champion of superbike competition and one of the finest riders ever to have straddled a high-powered two-wheeled racing machine.
I was riding a motorcycle when I was 5 years old. A friend of the family said, who also raced, he said, Wes, do you want to try this? And of course, you know, I had my leathers already and I was ready to go. And he said, well, you got to ask your mom. And she says, you can, don't hurt yourself.
It was also here 12 years ago that Wes Cooley, at the tender age of 13, rode a motorcycle competitively for the very first time.
After that, it just snowballed. I mean, I was fast when I was a kid. It came all natural. Didn't have to work at it too hard. My mother says I gave her every gray hair in her head.
Pops Yoshimura is perhaps the best-known builder of these highly advanced racing machines.
A name that all the motorcyclists that I know have heard of, and you've worked with him. What was it like?
It was an honor. Every time I come by the pit lane, he always had his hand to his ear, like this, because he was listening to the motorcycle to see exactly what it sounded like. You know, I mean, it was amazing. I always remember me coming in and making my grunts and groans on how the bike was handling. And I would tell him that it wasn't accelerating hard enough off a turn as I knew it was capable of doing. And he would go hand file the slides or the needles on the carburetors, and it would be perfect. He had made my whole racing career what it was, and gave me all the notoriety and the wins and everything was due to Pops Yoshimura.
One of the world's fastest motorcycle circuits, Daytona is the perfect showcase for the thunderous speed and power of the superbike.
1979 and 80 became AMA Superbike champion.
That is correct.
Daytona.
Yes.
Well, tell us what that was like, riding with the likes of Kenny Roberts, Spencer, Crosby.
Well, at Daytona, I'd always had bad luck.
Yeah.
I had good luck in 1980 because I beat Freddie, and I had to win the race, and Eddie had to finish only 17th or better to take the championship.
And in turn one, it's Wes Cooley who emerges with the narrowest of margins over Freddie Spencer and Graham Crosby.
It was Freddie and I hooked up the whole way around. When it came right down to it, I wanted it more at the end. Freddie didn't really have a chance at the championship, but I did. I've always said when you're racing, if your head is on clear and you're slowed yourself down, everything's happening in slow motion, I usually won. If I had it slow in my mind. Go slow to go fast. That guy told me that years ago when I first started racing. Guy, Buddy Perriott.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. And it took me 7 years to figure out what he said. Because that was all about going fast, racing. I mean, it's like, faster you go, the better you're going to be. And what he meant was slow down up here in your head, make everything smooth, nice and smooth and in a rhythm, and you'll go faster. And he was right.
Tell us the story about coming over here to the studio tonight.
There's a motorcycle broke down on the side of the road, a Triumph Triple, a new one. Well, we pull up and roll down the window. I said, is there a problem? What's wrong with your bike? He says, you wouldn't happen to have booster cables, would you? And I said, absolutely I do. Yeah, we'd be happy to help. And he goes, well, I guess by the t-shirts you're wearing, you guys are the guys to help me. And I said, do you know Wes Cooley? And he goes, of course I've heard of Wes Cooley. And I said, well, there he is right there. And
can I shake your hand? And you know, that's what this whole motorcycle industry is about, is the camaraderie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you ride motorcycles.
Many friendships made through the motorcycle industry.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Wes, I know you've signed 1 million pictures, but can you do one more for our very good friend, Jeff?
You betcha.
Fantastic, Wes.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
Joining us in the garage, Mike Campbell and his 11-year-old son Aaron, who is now Canada's youngest Iron Butt Association rider. So, you think you ride a long distance in a day. Tell us, Aaron, how far did you ride in less than 24 hours?
1,650 kilometers.
You know, Aaron, 2.5% of the population in North America ride motorcycles. Less than 0.5% of the people that ride motorcycles have an Iron Butt Association certificate. Pretty exciting, eh?
Really exciting.
Okay, so did you get your certificate in the mail yet?
I don't think so now.
No. Okay, well the certificates have to be approved, a very rigorous process that goes through. Pulled a few strings, and I have for you here the certificate from the Iron Butt Association that states that 11 years old, Aaron is the youngest saddle saw 1600K finisher from Canada.
Don't I have a show and tell for school now?
Oh, do you ever?
Right on.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
So tell us about the ride.
The ride was cold. I liked the darkness and the morning ride.
Did you stop at all?
Yes, we did. A couple times.
A little snooze?
Little like 15-minute power nap. Grilled cheeses at Tim Hortons.
All right. So Mike, what made you think that he could do it?
He's 100% reliable on the back of the bike. We've ridden a lot together. This isn't just our first ride out. You know, I think he's probably put about 20,000 on a bike at all anyway.
Right.
And he's got all the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the correct gear.
Yeah, we're pretty comfy on that thing. I think we could have gone for a lot longer. Yeah.
And that's the trick that I've always said. You've got to have that motorcycle set up correctly. You can't just jump on your motorcycle that's out in the garage and ride 1,000 miles in a day. It isn't going to happen, guys. You've got to do as you guys did.
So, when you're old enough, are you going to have your own bike and ride with your dad?
Probably.
Yeah.
That'd be a dream of mine.
Most likely.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It would be.
Street bikes, you can put it on dirt bikes, larger displacement machines that don't come with the factory tire pressure monitoring system. It's a fantastic safety device. The weight of the sensor is 2 grams and it goes right on top of your valve stem. And then it works off of a Wi-Fi system that communicates to a monitor that's mounted on the bike, and it reads your tire pressure and your temperature in Celsius. Once you've got your monitor installed, you simply turn on the monitor and install the front and rear valve caps.
Right, just screw them on.
Take the bike for a little spin and you're hooked up, you're ready to go. It's a device not meant to eliminate your pre-ride safety checks.
Right.
But it's a device so that when you're running down the road, you can actually see what your tires are doing, and it gives you a warning that you may have a slow leak or just picked up a nail. Now you're losing air in your tire.
Is there any form of alarm system kind of built in if something does go wrong with your tire?
Yes, there is. You have a low pressure setting and a high pressure setting. It will have an audible alarm, and then there's also a red light that flashes on the dash of the monitor.
Just as an aside, myself and Greg just did a tour through the interior of BC, did some fabulous dual sporting, and I asked Greg about his tire pressures when he was running, etc. The difference between when we were cold in the morning and when we stopped basically at lunchtime was 8 PSI.
Yeah.
8 PSI, and that wasn't like running at highway speeds or anything. This is off-road like dual sporting. What wonderful FARKLE is hiding in this little case?
The Cyclops Extreme Racer helmet light system. Two reflector technology 1200 lumen helmet lights. If you have something like this mounted on your helmet, you're going to have light where you look.
Right, so as you turn your head, you're going around a corner, you can kind of see around the corner.
Correct, it'll help lead the corner. It will also, if you have a turnoff that maybe is a dark trail or something like that, it helps you when you're looking, because now you've got light in front of you, but you've also got that, just like you said, light where you look. It's a really valuable tool to have in your arsenal of adventure equipment.
And how are these powered then? How do we?
It's just your standard battery pack can go in your bag, or you can actually tie it to your handlebars if you wanted to.
This one battery will power both lights.
Correct.
For 4 to 5 hours on high.
Yes.
And it's got a high, medium, and low, I think, right?
Correct.
Okay, and on low, the two of these running, you need to know is more than your regular headlight on your bike.
Yes.
On low. And on low, how long will one battery power them both?
Up to 8 hours.
8 hours?
Yeah.
I don't know too many guys that ride 8 hours off-road.
That's LED technology for you.
Right. But something that you don't see in the box that is probably the most important thing that you get is if you buy Cyclops stuff, you get the backup of these guys, of Greg. You pick up the phone, you phone Cyclops. Guess what? You'll be speaking to Greg in a minute. Or Daryl, the owner. Like, the backup that you guys give, and I know because we've used a number of your products, I've got a bunch of friends using them, instantly taken care of. Like, no conversation, just like right now.
Yeah, well, you know, it's when there's a problem, how do you react to that problem? You fix it. You take care of the guys that are buying your products, and it's tenfold.
Your collection is so eclectic.
It's nice to have a variety of things. About 20 years ago, when I acquired this bike, there were some parts missing, and a friend of mine discovered them in a dumpster.
In a dumpster?
Yeah.
Really?
Gets the cookie tin out, looks in it, and it's full of original 1914 Indian parts.
So he actually went in for the cookie tin, not knowing that it was
No, he
full
didn't know it was in it.
Wow.
And the fellow that had the bike had collected these.
And these were some parts that you needed to complete the motorcycle?
Those are the parts I needed to complete it. Yes.
That's amazing, Steve.
Awesome.
Wow. I got a story about a 1914 Indian just like this bike. In 1914, on May 14th, Cannonball Baker arrived in New York City after riding one of these from San Diego. It took him 11 days, 12 hours, and 10 minutes. Just amazing.
He was an amazing character. He also set a record. He left Vancouver and rode a similar bike, 1914 Indian, to Tijuana, Mexico in about 3 days, 16 hours.
Wow.
Unreal.
And the roads were not like they are today.
They weren't for some of the...
What roads, right?
What roads, yeah.
What roads?
How did you do that?
That is amazing.
Good thing it had suspension on the front and rear.
Yes, that's a good point.
You know,
isn't that amazing?
For 1914, having a rear swinging arm suspension, way ahead of their time. I traded the Gold Star for it, actually. But people would say to him, "You mean you traded that beautiful Indian for a lousy old Gold Star?" and people would say to me, "Don't tell me you traded your beautiful Gold Star for a lousy old Indian." This is exactly what a lot of people said that.
But I think you were both happy with the deal.
Oh, everybody's happy, yes.
Some of the technical details of this motorcycle for its vintage are just amazing.
Yes.
I mean, the controls, like, look at the handlebars. Like,
all the turnbuckles and no cables.
It's all internal.
All internal stuff.
Universal joints.
And those grips twist, right? One of them's the throttle.
One's the throttle and one is retard and advance. But you know, you needed them because the roads were bad. You needed that extra length of bar.
Leverage.
The leverage.
Okay. Well, of course, Indian's arch rival was Harley Davidson, who came out with an electric start first in
1965.
1965.
I believe so. Yeah.
51 years later, before Harley came out with an electric start. Wow. And these came from the Hendy Manufacturing Company, which started making bicycles. Is that correct, Ben?
Yes, Hendy did build bicycles as well.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just a beautiful work of art.
Motorcycles are known for their throaty rumble, begging for attention. Unlike this motorcycle dealer who's been quietly showing off some of the world's rarest bikes. Here at Vancouver's Dealey Motorcycle Exhibition.
100 years of motorcycling.
That's how long the Dealeys have been dealing Harley-Davidson to Canadians.
Trev believed if you rode a bike, you were a biker. He didn't care whether it was a Harley, didn't matter, as long as you rode.
Trev Dealey began squirreling away old bikes in the 40s. Today, the collection boasts some 280 motorcycles.
We've been running it now for about 11 years.
100 years celebrates Canada's first Harley dealership and our two-wheeled passion.
Iconic bikes that everybody knows of and has heard of. And to highlight them, what I did was I went back and I pulled the ad from the year of the bike.
How do you pronounce this name properly?
So this is the Brough Superior, and this bike is the bike that was a favorite of Lawrence of Arabia.
Trev rarely restored bikes he collected.
The bikes are in conditions that he got them in.
Brent's team works to keep them that way.
Right now, this is the highest selling motorcycle at an auction in the world today. Highest price ever paid for a motorcycle was a Vincent Black Shadow.
Is that right?
Almost $500,000.
Oh.
They held the world's fastest motorcycle record for decades. Trev Dealey was the first person in North America to bring Japanese motorcycles to the English-speaking world. To me, it's just phenomenal. Is this little Honda 50, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki. This motorcycle has now become the world's most sold motor vehicle in the history of the world. 100 million units of just this one model. 100 million. And still selling well today. Back in 1973, this was the British bike killer. This Honda 750 was a turning point in motorcycle history. And the ad, even the ad, a sign from the East. And boy, was it ever a sign from the East. You know, you may not be a bona fide vintage guy in your heart, but when you come through, you can't help but look at these bikes and go, oh my God. And then, of course, you got the drag bike, which you just have to have, because it's cool.
That's right.
It is.
Pretty famous guy owned that one, eh?
Yeah, some dirtbag. Nothing is new, and you begin to realize and appreciate how much work and effort went into all these bikes in the early days. And you wouldn't know that if you couldn't look at these bikes in the condition they're in today.
Wow, that Dealey exhibition. And Bev's Indian?
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. We hope you enjoyed hanging out with us at FARKLE Garage. Have you got a story or know someone who does? Send us an email. Share it with us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll share it with the world. And if you want to see more FARKLE Garage, watch us on YouTube and AutoWorks TV. Before we go, remember, old Indians never die. They just have better stories to tell. Later, midget.
Riding gear provided by Climb. Technical riding gear.
Robbers on the road, wind in my face, riding down the highway. Heaven is a place I'm rolling on.